the plant side of YouTube is fun and creative. I absolutely love making videos in the space. However, it is not easy. It is hard. Coming up with videos and editing is not that easy. The other honest side of making these videos is that we all want to grow in the space. We want to get subscribers, get views. That is why today I'm interviewing a YouTube coach who's done some work in the analytics on the plant niche. He's also a coach that's built an amazing YouTube community. In my interview with him, I kept plant creators in mind while asking questions. If you're a plant creator and trying to grow your YouTube channel, stick around and pick up some nuggets of value from this interview. Ty, nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for coming on here, because I feel you are definitely someone that I would like to continue to grow with. You're my YouTube coach, and I want to continue to grow with you. So I see so many things that you've had to offer me, and I wanted to give it to my plant community.
Yeah.
So you've done some work in the plant analytics.
Yep.
And I want to know about some of your thoughts. But before we jump into that, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So it's good to be with you. Thanks for having me. Ty Myers. I've been doing YouTube for just over a year now. I try to specialize in the YouTube growth space. So my goal is to help other people get started and grow their YouTube channels, all while doing it in real time myself. And yeah, it's been a fun journey doing this. I quit my corporate 9-to-5 to focus full time on YouTube. So I'm really in the weeds. I study this stuff every single day, and I just try to be as helpful and valuable as I possibly can. So that's my story.
One of the things that you have done that really surprised me is that after my first meeting with you, you went and did a lot of homework into the plant community. So I am going to present the first question on here. So anything that surprised you about how the plant YouTube compared to other YouTube channels? I had nothing to compare my channel to because I just know plants.
Right.
So
I think for a lot of folks, we're all in our silos, right? In the niche that we specialize in. And it's hard to know what success looks like in other niches or what formats work well or things like that. But one thing that surprised me very early on was like video duration, and how like I'm used to creating shorter videos, like 5 to 12 minute videos. And I felt like that's the majority of what people made on YouTube. But I think the trend we're seeing is longer, long form content is very appealing. And more people are watching YouTube on TV, which means they're kind of sitting down, they're relaxing, they probably got something that they're eating, and they're kind of just chilling, watching like a 30 to and sometimes 60-minute YouTube video. So one thing I've seen on your channel and some channels similar to yours is people love that longer, long form content. They love the relaxed vibe. And that wasn't something that I anticipated early on. The other thing I would say too is, again, using your channel as an example and then seeing some other folks, is the community aspects to it. And I suppose it just depends on like the direction you want your channel to go in. But it feels to me like there's a lot of opportunity to really engage with people and connect with people and drive meaningful community elements within the houseplant space. I see it with adjacent niches like outside gardening and things like that. But it feels to me like people just want a space to congregate and hang out and meet like-minded people and have other people to chat with around this broader niche topic.
That surprised me when you said that to me the first time. I had no idea. Okay, so we're going to jump into the next question. So for somebody growing their plant YouTube, what are some tips that you can share with us?
I think, well, number one is just be patient, because anything on YouTube, this is more general YouTube advice, is to just be patient, and things take time. But I would say another thing to do is spend a lot of time studying what's working well. And I don't want to call them competitor channels, but look at channels that inspire you. Look at channels that are maybe a little bit further along and see what's working and see what's not. And I think what you'll find is when you study some of your competitors, you'll probably find some common themes or elements that are kind of replete throughout some of their higher performing videos. and just take notes and try to emulate them as best as possible early on to get some of those early reps in, to start getting more comfortable with the content creation process. And don't worry so much early on about your own individual style, because that will develop as you go. But if you want to gain early traction to the extent that you can on a new channel, is just see what's working well in other houseplant channels and try to adopt that as much as you can, and just do it in a way that's like true and authentic. Don't try to pretend to be somebody that's 10 years on YouTube, because you might come off inauthentic and people tend to read right through that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think doing a lot of study of competitors is helpful, looking at the different topics, what's trending. And if you're on other socials, or if you're going down that rabbit hole of doing research, like things like Reddit, Facebook groups, Instagram, these are good ways to get ahead of what topics are important and relevant right now in the moment. So that would be a couple of quick tips for newer folks starting out.
One of the things that has happened with the plant community is that during 2020, there was something that happened, and as a result, the plant community grew overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a little saturated, and some of the content is no longer relevant because it's either been overdone or just talked about so much they don't want to hear it anymore. What would you say to that?
Um, it's tough because in a lot of niches on YouTube, it's almost like a bit of an echo chamber, right? And even looking at competitor channels to seeing what works well, it's a good exercise to get into, but it doesn't guarantee success, or it doesn't guarantee views and subscribers. So the other side of that coin, if you will, is you have to lean into what's authentically you and what's not replicatable by another channel. So like we talk about unfair advantage, and for a lot of people, it's not easily identify like what that is, like what's unique or special about you that other people can't copy. And I would just say it's your personality. It's how you show up. It's your disposition, your demeanor, your attitude, your warmth, how people connect with you on camera, the way you make people feel when they watch your videos. And all of that stuff might be clouded by the initial anxiety of being on camera. And
Mm-hmm.
so once you get through some of the initial reps of being on camera and going through the process, you chip away slowly but surely at that anxiety. And then your real confidence and personality comes out. So lean into that. And what you'll probably find over time is that more and more people will gravitate towards you based on your personality versus just the topics that you're discussing. You might get a mixture of both. Like you might get people who are genuinely there to learn from you, or who want to know what you're up to in terms of like your plant room and stuff like that. But you'll also find that people just connect with you as an individual, and then you have those loyal fans on your channel who are constantly
Yeah.
leaving comments and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's true. There's a lot of people. You've been teaching me that, to look for new subscribers, but then people will stay for, as who you are and your personality.
Yeah.
What are
Absolutely.
some mistakes that you see me making or other people in my community? Because you've talked to like other people in the plant community as well, that's starting off on YouTube. But
Mhm.
what are some mistakes that like we can make if we have a plant channel?
So with everything YouTube, consistency is the most important thing. Whether you show up once a week, twice a week, however you can do it in a way that's sustainable for a long period of time, because YouTube is a very momentum based platform, and you can't just do it for 3 months and expect results. You got to do it for an extended period of time. And the only way to do it for an extended period of time is to find a sustainable way of doing it. And some people will sprint out of the gate and they'll overdo it. And that could be good in a short period of time, but then you burn out and then you quit. So consistency, I think, is probably the most important thing to get right. And honestly, on day one, that's not going to be inherently obvious what consistency looks like for you. So it's something you have to like figure out as you go. Titles and thumbnails are things that people often neglect early on, myself included. This is replete advice for any YouTube channel. And packaging is just it's probably the most important thing that people need to spend more time on. And then sometimes people spend more time in the YouTube studio than they should early on. And I would say, don't do that. Don't look at your analytics. Don't look at the YouTube app, delete the app from your phone, stop refreshing it, and repurpose all of that time into doing more research on things that you think might be relevant for your viewers or the viewers that you hope to have. So it's all about how we spend our times. And I think sometimes we spend them in the wrong way. Content is king, reps are important. Don't get bogged down if you don't get a lot of views on your first videos because you're meant not to. Just know that in time things will start to snowball and you'll start to build that momentum. But yeah, consistency, packaging, probably some of the biggest mistakes that people make in their first few months.
Next question. We're just jumping in.
Yeah.
How should a planned YouTube structure their videos for maximum retention from the research you've already done?
Yeah, I think it depends on the direction of your channel, because you can, in my estimation, you can do it one of two ways. You can tackle your channel through the lens of, I want to make just instructional, like sort of educational videos that help people with knowledge and information. And I would just call that like, you're an education channel. And then there's the entertainment portion of it, which, Rachel, I think like in some respect, you're almost you're like a mix between the two, I would say.
Yeah, I feel lately I've been feeling that, and I'm like, I love teaching, but I also love that relaxed aspect of YouTube.
Yeah. And so I would call like there's the entertainment camp that you can be in. And this means you're still talking about houseplants and you're still like giving tips and showing people what you're working on and the hope that they're learning something. But you're also letting your real personality come out in the hopes that people connect with you. And then they, like, to your point, they kind of chill, they relax, they sit back in their chair, they watch what you're up to. And they're not really there for the nuggets of wisdom. They're there for like the just relaxed atmosphere. You know, they're being entertained, if you will. And if you are of the personality where you really want to entertain people, then lean into that. Like if that's you, if you're charismatic and you want to be that fun, jovial person on camera, then that's great. You can certainly have a houseplant channel and do that. Now, the way you would structure your videos for retention is if you're going down the education path, then you'd want to keep the videos relatively short. You'd want to keep them value packed, and you'd want to start with ultimately helping people understand the problem that you're going to help them solve in the video very early on, so that when they click, it's confirmed what they're going to get out of the video, and then they watch to the end, hopefully. If you're doing more of an entertainment style channel, then you really have to let your personality shine, and you have to just let your mannerisms and your quirks come out. If you're storytelling, then you have to make sure the stories you're telling are relevant and compelling, and they have natural tension and release in those stories so that people feel captivated by what you're saying. So it's just a matter of the direction you want to go in. But ultimately, you have to do what feels natural and authentic to you, because oftentimes we apply a one size fits all for how your hook should look and sound. And for many people, it doesn't vibe with how they would normally speak or communicate. And again, coming back to your viewers, they can read right through you if you're not being authentic to who you are. So I would say don't overthink retention. Overthink the value to your viewer. And if that comes out,
I like it.
Yeah, if it comes out like in a non-guru retention format, like so be it.
So it is really like your friend is over and you're just hanging out with your friend.
Yeah. I like it.
You've answered this question, but how important are titles and thumbnails in this niche?
I think exceptionally important, as with every niche. But one thing I think is interesting about the houseplant niche is that it's probably not, you don't have to over architect a thumbnail. Meaning that if you just have a really great photo, I think, of what you're going to be talking about in the video, then you can get away with minimal text or no text and just a really vibrant looking picture of the plant or whatever it is that you're going to be chatting through. And you as the subject, the person delivering the content, you don't necessarily even need to be in the thumbnail. Now, I would say it also helps to A/B test. So like try with and without to see what works better with your audience. But with any niche where you are doing more showing versus then telling, the thumbnail should do a majority of the showing, right? Because you're advertising what you're going to be showing in the video in the thumbnail. It's not about you necessarily as the creator. It's about the plants or whatever it is in the video that you're demonstrating. And so I think one thing about the houseplant niche is it really behooves you to demonstrate things, to show things, to walk people through things, as opposed to just being a straight talking head like a lot of the videos I make. And
Yeah.
then that gives you the luxury of using a good still image from the video in your thumbnail.
Good. That's good. Next question. So how effective is live stream for the plant channel? Do you think it's would be helpful for us to just show up and repot plants?
I think live streaming is really great for community building. I wouldn't say it's going to be highly effective in growing a channel. And that's going to be the case in most niches. But for those of you out there who might be interested in the community building aspects of your YouTube channel, then live streaming is a great way to encourage it, to get to know people better, for people to come and support you in a more meaningful way. And it's such a profound, it's just, for me, in doing it on my own channel, it just means the world to me that people would show up and hang out. And I think, there's so much to be said about like how to grow on YouTube, but we talk about community, and it's really the core of any one YouTube channel. And live streaming, I think, is just the best way to do that. It's the best way to connect with people, to let your guard down, for people to see you as you really are. Now, if you're doing that already in your normal videos, then maybe there's not going to be a whole ton of value added. But if your normal videos are very structured and rigid and educational, but you do want to create a space for people to get you to know you, then live streams can be really good for that. But I would also just say, they're not really designed to grow subscribers. They're really designed to nurture the people who already know you.
I feel like going live and people know it's unedited, it does bring a little bit more closeness to your community. They feel a little closer to you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because you're not cutting out the ums and the ahs, and
Right.
you're just letting
All
it
there.
sit. And like sometimes there's awkward silence, and you just kind of have to, so they get to see what you really are like.
Yeah. What key metrics should plant YouTubers track?
Okay, so I'll give you two opinions on this because, like I said earlier, I don't think it's super helpful to track metrics early on. So if you're a beginner creator, you've only been doing it for maybe less than 6 months, it probably is more important to, whatever time you would be spending studying your analytics, repurpose that into doing research. That's it, full stop. Now, if you're already in the YouTube studio and you're like, I definitely want to get my head around this stuff, there's really only two things I think are important. There's a lot of stuff in there, and you could just get lost in the weeds, literally. But I think retention is probably the most important thing, especially for plant YouTubers who are leaning into this community element to it. Because if you're making 25-minute videos that are relaxed and informal and warm and inviting, but people aren't sticking around, then you might be missing the mark, and you got to figure out a better way of showing up. You might need to change your format. You might need to rethink your strategy in terms of the community building. If you're making 25-minute videos and people are staying and hanging out with you, if like you got 40% plus retention, then you're in good shape, because that's going to help you with your watch time hours. It lets you know that people are there for you, which is amazing. And so you're on the right track. So average percentage viewed is important. That's one thing to look at on your videos. You could also look at your 30-second retention in the YouTube studio per video. If you have, I would say like 60 to 70%, 30-second retention, like that's pretty good. If it's down in like the 40 to 50% range, then you probably have to think more about how you're opening up your videos. And I know earlier I mentioned, don't do things that are inauthentic and don't speak to how you speak. But at the same time, if you're losing half of your audience in the first 30 seconds, then you're not going to grow nearly as quickly. And it's a sign that people aren't interested in your content, or at least the way that you're starting your videos. So average percentage viewed, 30-second retention, and then maybe the third one would be the click-through rate on your thumbnails and your titles. And click-through rate's interesting because it's not always a function of the thumbnail itself. The topic also greatly informs the click-through rate, because the higher the interest, the topic, the more reach it's going to get, and that's going to drive your click-through rate down, which is normal. That's okay on YouTube. But it also helps to know if you're just completely missing the mark. So if you have a low click-through, anything that's less than like 3%, probably need to figure out how to make your thumbnails easier to read, simplify them, make it more clear what the viewer's getting when they click. And then that'll give you a much better chance of when people see it in the home screen that they'll want to watch it.
Do you have a gauge of what the impressions, like impression percentage, should be for our channel?
For click-through specifically, I think, I mean, every niche is different. They say between 6 and 10% click-through is strong. Now, I very rarely see that high click-through. My channel is about 3.5%, but I don't know if that's normal or not for the niche that I'm in. But I know on yours are typically pretty higher, like in the 4 to 5% range, I would think. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna differ by niche, and I don't know if there's necessarily a benchmark per niche that I could cite. I just don't have that information if it's even out there.
Right. So what would you tell someone that's stuck at 100 to 500 subs in the plant community?
Okay, so number one is try to network if you can, like maybe get to know other creators in your space. And one of the ways you can do that is just find other channels that are also smaller and growing that are maybe a bit ahead of you, and comment on some of their videos and start opening up conversation and just get to know other people. And in time, what you'll find is that if you show up enough, people might click on your handle and then see your channel and be like, oh, okay, this person's also doing houseplants. I might be interested in their content. Let me watch a video or two and let me subscribe. That could be a good way of just bringing people who are already engaged in the community over to your space. So that could be one idea. If you have any one video on your channel that's already doing well, double down on that topic. Try to figure out another way to repackage and reframe it and see if that one also helps grow the channel. But yeah, just evaluate at that point if your retention and your click-through are lower, and then spend the majority of your time trying to improve that in addition to the topics. And I always say too is if you're struggling in the 1 to 500 subscriber range and you're feeling demotivated or like a lack of creativity because you can't get the growth that you want, I would say take a step back and zoom out and try to refocus on what your top priority is for the channel. And yeah, it's going to be about growing it, but who are you really trying to reach with your content? What message are you trying to get out there with your content? And if it helps to simplify your creation process, don't underestimate the power of beginner-friendly content, meaning come up with like 5 to 10 really simple, really easy to make video topics that would be geared towards absolute beginners, people who don't know anything about the houseplant space, but who want to get into it as a hobby. What are their top questions and how can you answer those questions? And then just, post a bunch of videos on that stuff. And what you might find is, one, there's more beginners out there than there are intermediates or advanced, so that the audience is much larger. But two, those videos might end up performing better over time because they might become search-based evergreen videos on your channel, and that can help pull in more subscribers, and then those people can get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that is something I underestimated about myself. I thought there's no beginners out there. There's beginners gonna want to watch about Hoyas, but I'm seeing that is so not true. Yes, thank you for that.
Try new formats too. If you do primarily talking head at a table and you're just showing plants, that's great. But what about doing a house tour? Or what about doing, I've seen another channel do this where they would go to like a Lowe's and record their reaction to what they're seeing in the store with the houseplants. And, people love this, almost like someone being out in the field doing something that they themselves want to do but don't. They want to see somebody else doing that for them. So if you're that kind of person and you can get out of the house and go do that, that might be a great way to get more interesting and pull people in and using a different format.
You've touched on so many things that's underrated. Do you have any other underrated things that we've overlooked in our niche?
Yeah, one thing that I just learned actually is time-lapse videos. Do you watch those?
Yes.
There's a lot of high view count time-lapse videos, and I know those are probably a lot of work to produce, but
It takes a long time.
Yeah, well, yeah, it depends on the duration of the time lapse. but it feels to me like those videos get a lot of views. So time lapse could be one underrated format. We talked about getting out of the house and doing like a review in a store. We talked about beginner friendly content. Um, I think maybe comparison videos. Some people might be trying to make a decision between two different plant types and they're on the fence about it. So they might want to see that comparison. Um, but yeah, I think those would be the things that come top of mind to me. And then also just like we've seen with your channel, Rachel, the house tours and the collection style videos. Like people love that.
They love
So
it.
lean in. If you do one of those and it works, then try to figure out another way to refresh it and do it again.
I myself love I love collection videos so much. I watch that because it's a way to see a plant that you've either wanted to see and you want to see what it looks like and like grown up or something,
Yeah.
or a plant you've never seen before. So it's definitely a hidden gem.
Yeah. And ultimately people love, I think, to just vicariously live through other people's experience. And that's I think why a lot of people watch YouTube is they have an interest in something, but maybe they're not as far along as you are. So if you can just lend your expertise and show people what they might expect if they go down this path, then I think people come to appreciate that.
Tell us a little bit of your YouTube community and how we can find you.
Yeah. Okay. So on my channel, I talk about how to grow on YouTube, and I have a community of people that I support. Essentially, I pull together who are interested in growing their YouTube channels. We have about 250 members, I think, right now. It's called the Midlife Creator Community. It's on a platform called School.
And it's
Um,
not just for midlife people, right?
True. Yeah, it's framed that way, but it's really for anybody. But the point is, I'm trying to pull together and cultivate a culture of people who want to work hard on their YouTube channels because I know doing this thing alone is next to impossible. It always helps to have a network of peers, people who can advocate and support you when you're not feeling great about your YouTube progress. So that's the whole point of the community. We get together once a week to chat YouTube. There's a lot of community posts where people are asking questions, sharing feedback, sharing wins. So it's just a nice, cohesive, supportive place for people to get together and do all things YouTube.
And I love my YouTube friends. I have plant friends and now I have YouTube friends. So
Yeah.
definitely need them. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out and chatting plant YouTube. I hope that information that Ty Myers gave you was valuable. Please let me know if you have any questions, if you have any takeaways from it. Are there anything that you're looking to change in your plant channel? I've left all his information in the description below, his YouTube channel and the school community, which is the YouTube community I'm a part of, and I love it. If you're interested in that, the information is below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.